The Insta360 X5 has 17 different shooting modes, and most people have no idea what half of them even do. So in this video, I'm going to break down every single one, what it is and when to use it. And by the end, you'll know exactly which modes are worth using and which ones you can completely ignore. By the way, this video is not sponsored, but I have negotiated a deal with Insta360 for followers of my YouTube channel. If you are interested in buying the X5, if you follow my link down below, you will get a free lens replacement kit. So if you are getting this camera anyway, you may as well get a free lens replacement kit to go with it. Now the main mode you'll be using for capturing 360 video will be the standard video mode under the 360 menu. When you select that, you can choose from a few different resolutions, anywhere from 4K up to 120 frames per second, all the way through to 8K 30, which will be the one you use in the vast majority of situations. This helps you capture the most amount of resolution possible and allow you to reframe the video in hundreds of different ways to get your choice of awesome shot. 5.7K plus is similar to 8K, just with a smaller file size and slightly reduced quality. And 5.7K will allow you to shoot up to 60 frames per second, including using active HDR, which is great when you're shooting in bright sunlight and you want to recover shadows and highlights. A new mode they've added with the X5 is Purevideo, and this is a great option to choose if you're shooting at nighttime or in any kind of low light situation. Again, you'll have similar shooting resolutions here. However, what Purevideo mode is doing is automatically adjusting the internal settings to provide a sharper and more noise-free video, as you can see with these side by sides. The one on the right has better exposure and less noise. And this was purely from just changing from regular video mode to Purevideo. Sometimes when you're shooting in the regular video mode, and let's say it's late afternoon to early evening, the X5 may prompt you automatically to change into Purevideo mode. So a little screen will pop up here and say, do you want to switch to Purevideo? Usually if it does that, it's a sign you should. So again, you'll always want to use Purevideo mode at nighttime or when you're shooting inside where the light isn't the greatest. Another new mode they've added with the X5 is Instaframe. And what this does is it shoots a fixed frame perspective straight out of the camera that doesn't require any editing. So here in the Instaframe menu, you can choose the perspective that you want to shoot, whether it's rear view, front view, top view, bottom view, or a custom view of your choosing. And what it's going to do is lock this perspective in place so you don't have to reframe it later. And you can also customize it further by dragging this slider here. There's also selfie view where it will detect your face and follow your face automatically. You can also choose the aspect ratio as well, whether you want 9:16 or 16:9. The beauty of Instaframe, however, is that it doesn't just shoot a flat perspective, but it also shoots a backup 360 video for you to reframe later in case the automatic reframing got messed up or you don't like it. You can easily just redo it from scratch using the original 360 video. The only downside of this is that the 360 resolution is limited to 5.7K and 5.7K plus, which isn't quite as sharp as 8K. And the reason is that it's literally shooting two videos simultaneously, so I don't think the camera can keep up with shooting an 8K video and a 1080p to 4K video simultaneously. However, 5.7K plus is still pretty sharp, so Instaframe is a really good option if you want automatic shots straight out of the camera that don't need editing. The next shooting mode is Timelapse, and Timelapse is a great option if you want to capture a landscape over a long period of time and speed it up. And you can capture time lapses in anywhere from 5.7K all the way up to 11K resolution, which is the highest this camera can possibly do, and much higher than the standard 8K mode. Whether it actually is 11K is another question, but it's definitely high quality. Then you can set your intervals anywhere from 2 seconds all the way up to 120 seconds, and this refers to how often it takes the individual photos within the time lapse, since a time lapse is basically a whole bunch of photos put together into a video. And as you can see by my Sydney Harbour time lapse, this looks fantastic and was only recorded over about 10 minutes with 2-second intervals. So time lapses are definitely a great creative option with the X5. Next we have Timeshift, and Timeshift is essentially a mode that was created specifically for the hyperlapse effect, which is the really fast moving effect with motion blur on either side that looks like you're flying through a location. And the reason they've got this dedicated time shift mode is to save space on your SD card. So if you select it, what it's going to do is speed up the clip in camera, so it's not recording all the data that a normal video would, and therefore the final file size is going to be a tenth of what it would be if it was a standard 8K video. And you can manually set the speed all the way up to 60 times speed here. However, if you're not sure, just choose auto, and the camera will basically choose the best speed based on the final length of your clip, so it looks good but also doesn't take up too much space. Now, I'd only choose this time shift mode when you know you're going to get a hyperlapse and you don't want the flexibility of being able to edit that same shot in a different way at a regular frame rate, since it's going to be much more jittery and jumpy. The next mode over is bullet time, and this refers to the bullet time effect where you shoot with the bullet time handle and selfie stick and swing the camera around your head like a lunatic and embarrass yourself in public, as you can see I'm doing here. And why you would choose this dedicated bullet time mode in the X5 as opposed to, say, just going to the regular video mode and choosing 4K 120 is that in the dedicated bullet time mode, the resolution goes even higher, all the way up to 5.7K 120. I'm not sure exactly how they're doing this, but it is higher resolution and it will automatically reframe the shot to be the bullet time effect and keep you in the center of frame while slowing the clip down to slow motion, meaning no editing is needed later on. And while I felt like a complete tool filming this, the end result was totally worth it. The next mode is loop recording, and this is a good choice when you're shooting something and you're waiting for something to happen, but you don't know when it's going to happen. And what the loop options here do is it takes a set period of time, whether you want it to be 1 minute all the way up to 30 minutes, and it will record that time, and once it gets to the end, it will start again at the start and overwrite the first couple of minutes, leaving you with only the last 30 minutes, 25, 20, and so on. So let's say you're waiting a really long time for something to happen and you want to have your camera rolling in case it does happen, or you're just using it in a simple use case like a dash cam style setup in a car. This is going to be a good one for allowing continuous recording without filling up your entire SD card every single time you film, since it's likely that you only need a couple of minutes of this overall clip and there's no need to record all that extra unnecessary footage at the start. Another one they've added that is very similar to this is another brand new one called road mode, and this has a similar premise in that it's a loop mode that will record only a certain amount of time. However, this is designed for much longer clips. For example, if you're going on a long drive or a motorcycle trip, you can set it to literally hours, or you can set it based on the SD card space you want to use on your card. So let's say I've got one SD card, I'm going on a long road trip, and I only want to use maybe a quarter of the card on the drive there. So I'm going to set that as my selected space, and it's basically going to loop an hour 41 minutes, and it will make sure I don't use up any more space than this on the card. This is a pretty niche use case, however, and I'd probably recommend just buying another SD card if you plan on shooting a lot of footage. So I'll link my recommended SD card for the X5 down below. So those are the main 360 video modes. However, knowing what each one does is only half the battle. If you want to use modes like Timeshift, Timelapse, Purevideo, or bullet time to get amazing results and not just test footage, that's exactly what I walk you through inside my 360 Video 101 course. Inside the course, I'll show you how to get clean, sharp shots in any shooting situation, including shooting smooth hyperlapses, time lapses, and a bunch of other great shots you can get with the X5. So if you do own an X5, this course is for you. If you're curious, I'll link it below. All right, let's move on to 360 photo modes. And the first one is the standard photo mode. And this is the one you're going to use in the vast majority of situations where you can shoot either 18 or 72 megapixels. Obviously, you want to go 72. You can turn HDR on, which I would recommend, especially if you're shooting virtual tours. There is also an auto exposure bracketing option if you're a bit more advanced and plan on doing a bit of editing of your shots, or you can just leave HDR off. You can choose to shoot in just pure shot, which is their automatic mode where it does things like noise reduction, and then there's pure shot plus raw, which essentially creates a raw file. If you want to edit the raw, you've got the option to do that. Finally, you can add a timer here so you have time to set up your camera, or if you're shooting a virtual tour, you may want to allow yourself a bit more time so you can go and hide. If you're just shooting casual 360 photos for social media and you want to reframe them into a cool perspective, then I'd recommend shooting with HDR off, just standard pure shot mode, 72 megapixel resolution with a 3-second timer. All right, the next photo mode is interval. And this is very similar to the previous time-lapse mode that we had in the video settings. However, with interval, what it does is it takes individual photos and leaves them as photos, as opposed to time-lapse mode, which will turn the photos automatically into a video. So interval will be a good choice if you want the flexibility to edit the shots. Let's say you want to do a lot of color correction and you want to capture raw shots. You've got the option to do that. Or maybe you just want to capture a whole bunch of 360 photos, say at an event, and you want to take a new photo every 10 seconds and you want that to go for, let's say, an hour. So now the camera will shoot 72 megapixel photos every 10 seconds until an hour is complete, and then it will stop. So this is a decent option, but it's very niche. So if you are looking to shoot a time lapse, I definitely recommend choosing the other time-lapse option that automatically turns it into a video. Next is burst mode. And what burst mode does is it will take a whole bunch of 360 photos really quickly, which is good for OCD people like me, where you want to capture a very specific composition and take 15 photos at once to choose the very best framing, like this shot here. So the burst options start at 3 photos every second. Then as you drag this slider across, it goes to 15 photos a second, all the way up to 15 photos over 10 seconds. So again, if something is happening quickly and you want to capture lots of photos, you can choose the option that works best for you. So you have lots of different options to choose from. The next 360 photo mode is Starlapse, and this is specifically for the Starlapse effect, where you're trying to capture light trails of stars over the course of the night. This is a really niche use case, but the end results are super cool. I won't go into too much detail, but there are a couple of options here for shooting both Starlapse photos and videos. All right, well, that's it for all the 360 modes. However, you'll notice at the top next to 360 is single lens. And here's where you'll find all the different modes that can be used with one single lens only. So the first one is quite obvious. It's just the standard video mode where you can shoot up to 4K 60, as well as altering your field of view. And all of these basically have to do with the fisheye look of the shot and how zoomed in you want it to be. By tapping this circle button here, you can also change lenses to the front lens. Likewise, the photo mode does the same thing, where you can shoot a photo with one lens only, and the photos go up to 36 megapixel resolution. Next is Freeframe video, and this is another mode where you can choose a fixed perspective to be locked in place so you don't need to reframe the shot later. As you can see, it's capturing both a 9:16 frame and a 16:9 frame simultaneously. Again, you can change the field of view to be whatever you like, and the main benefit of this mode over the standard video mode in single lens mode is that Freeframe basically gives you the option to change the aspect ratio. So if you do want a vertical video out of your final shot, you've got the option to at 4K resolution, as well as horizontally. You've got a 4K shot there and you don't have to decide then and there while you're shooting. Next is me mode, and in me mode, it's going to do a similar thing, but it's pointing the viewpoint back towards the selfie stick. So if you're holding your camera in front of you on a selfie stick, it will basically point back towards you. So whichever angle your selfie stick is on, the viewpoint will be angled towards the bottom of it, which again is a really fast way to reframe if you want to keep your editing to a minimum. Next is loop recording, which is the same thing as loop recording from the 360 menu, where you can choose a set duration of time and it will loop record the video over and over. So that's it for the 17 different shooting modes of the X5. Each one has a time and a place, no doubt. However, there's 2 modes in particular that I think you'll probably be using in the vast majority of situations and that I would recommend starting with. The first one is the normal 360 video mode, which has the most amount of flexibility, especially if you shoot in 8K. You are practically guaranteed to get an awesome stabilized shot, no matter how you choose to reframe it later. And of course, if you're shooting at night, pure video is a must-have. The other one I recommend is Instaframe. So if you're someone that doesn't want to do do a lot of editing of your shots, you just want something that is ready to go straight out of the camera, Instaframe is a great medium between 360 video and flat video in that it records both simultaneously, and therefore you can reframe the shot if you want. However, you don't have to, since the point of this mode is to create a stylish looking shot straight out of the camera without any editing needed. Personally, I just like to have backups in case my shot gets ruined for whatever reason. I like to know that I can still reframe a shot and fix it if for some reason the automatic editing didn't work out. Now again, if you're planning to get yourself an X5, be sure to follow the link down in the description to take advantage of the free lens replacement kit that comes with all orders from my link. And now that you know the shooting modes of the X5, next you'll need to learn how to edit the 360 video shots and reframe them into a traditional flat video. In this video here, I'll show you how to use the brand new Insta360 mobile app version 2 to edit stylish looking shots in just a few minutes.